welcome back to Until They Sleep. I am Chantel, joined by my husband as always. Hi, honey.
Hi, everybody.
He's acting silly.
I am lacking of sleep.
Lacking sleep?
No, I'm being
it was
silly.
Sunday and you didn't get to sleep in.
Yeah, I guess so. We kind of fun days. Welcome back, everyone. Bonjour.
Okay.
I love doing that.
You're silly.
I love your reaction every time whenever I do that.
Well, we've been pretty busy.
Life is busy.
Life
We're
is
parents.
busy, parents.
And it's the holiday season.
'Tis the holiday season. So
Everything is packed. Everywhere we go, it's a nightmare.
yes, it's busy. Long lines.
Stores are disgusting. People
Yes.
throw stuff away. Don't pick up. Don't fold things.
Can't find the size you want for things.
Put things in the wrong spot. Milk on the t-shirt racks. And
What? I haven't seen
I don't know. I'm
that.
just doing stuff about making crap up.
Well,
So yeah, welcome to another wonderful episode of Until They Sleep, a podcast about parents learning how to be parents. A podcast for parents, apparently. My
Yes.
wife made a good point the other day to me. And I was like, you know what? We're concentrating too much on... I concentrate too much, not we. I concentrate too much on trying to make it kind of like a family podcast so that like parents maybe can listen to it with their kids. But my wife made a good point, which is what, babe?
that we started this for us to
Yeah.
vent about our lives, and so we're a podcast for parents.
Yeah, and help out other
and
parents
to help
going
other
through this.
parents and
Our current new parents that are going to face some of this stuff, right?
yeah, I mean,
Like being step parents,
you know,
and
and
raising kids.
and for parents who have already gone through it, you know, to maybe have a chuckle about, haha, I already went through that, you know, type of thing where,
Yeah, and that's kind of like what we say. Any advice, please, let us know.
Yeah.
If you've been through this. And
the thing is, I wonder if people don't really give advice because of the times we live in. Advice
you know
falls
what?
on deaf ears.
So,
you know?
so on that note, like, I always find it funny because, well, not funny, but it's just funny that it is one of those things where we're always kind of like our point of views. We're always kind of censoring ourselves, not just like in the podcast, but I mean in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like we hear stuff in public, or people ask for help or advice, and you're kind of like, I don't want to come across the wrong way
Yeah.
or say the wrong thing because
I totally agree. And like in the last couple of years, I've had situations with moms in my circle where, I've had to listen to conversations and, well, I didn't have to, but, I'm trying to be a friend and I definitely necessarily don't agree with what they're saying. And then kind of tiptoe around the subject, trying to find a way to say it without offending their decision as parents.
Yeah, and it's
super hard.
You don't want to lose those friends.
Yeah,
right?
you're not
Because
trying to lose them. Yeah.
If you say something that they're not gonna like, they're gonna probably be offended and go their own way, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. I was talking about that one friend to you earlier this week that when he was married, there was all these red flags about his previous, partner, and I was like, hey man, and I'd say, why do you always think they're cheating? I was like, because the symptoms are there, the signs are all there. And he's like, nah, and then I don't want to be your friend no more, you're always so negative. I was like, you're not being negative, I'm being your friend, I'm letting you know what nobody else has a boss to let you know. And then sure, later on,
Yeah, he found out she was. Yeah.
yeah, and I was right.
Yeah.
And
But that's the thing is, like, you tiptoe around this. Like, so, like, you went
Necessary
directly
I'm a
and
necessary friend.
you were direct to him and told him how it was, and he didn't believe you. And so
Yeah.
you lose that friendship because they don't believe you or they don't want to believe you. Even if they do believe you, they don't want to believe you.
Yeah.
Right? Versus me, because I understand that I will probably lose that friendship. Like, I might like them as a person. I'm willing, I guess, to tiptoe around the subject
All right.
to, I don't know, put in my 2 cents in a way that doesn't come across as threatening or I'm telling you you're doing it wrong. I'm not telling you you're doing it wrong, but I'm telling you you're doing it wrong.
You can do it us. But that's fine. I guess we're
You're
family.
my family.
Yeah, we're your family.
And that's the thing is it's, they say, what was it, that thing about, Or did you send it to me? Have I talked about this? Where children, they did a study of children around without their moms being around, and then
I sent
how
you
they
that.
reacted once the mom walked in. And the kids were really well behaved before the mom walked in. And the moment the mom walked through the door, their attitude, their attention span.
Yeah, they were 7 times worse misbehaved than
Yeah.
anything else, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they were properly behaved before the mother figure was around. Even the father was fine. But once the mother showed up, they all just 180'd.
Yeah.
And they were up to 7 times worse.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
And then what we always complain about is like, why do kids not listen to their moms? And the idea is that kids don't listen to their moms because that's who they're most comfortable with. So if I'm able to be direct with you or say things to you in your face, or, you know, my kids or even my own parents, because that's my comfort circle. I guess based on this study, it's because that's our comfort circle. So we're able to let out all our frustrations with our families because those are the people we trust the most. I don't know how valid that all is, but the gist is that, right? That's why. Versus tiptoeing around my friends, right? Okay. But like you said, maybe I'm not being a good friend by tiptoeing around it.
You're being a good friend. I mean, and I guess in a way, that's the type of friend that you are. You know, like you're being supportive and you're giving your advice through their point of view. And you don't want to overstep because, like you said, like we were saying, you're not telling them how to raise their kids, right?
Yeah, I don't want anybody coming at me to tell me how to raise my kids.
So you're respecting that, and it's just kind of giving her a little bit of, that reinforcement, right? Because we're talking about, what was that other doctor, that video I was showing you, that she was saying, moms need that reinforcement, whether it be from, the spouse or family or friends, right?
Yeah, because we weren't, the human dynamic is not to raise children in single family homes. Right. That's what she was saying. Mm-hmm. It's that we were meant to raise families and tribes.
Right.
And more than one.
Yeah.
One
so this is kind of like our little tribe, right? We're creating our content to reach out to other parents. Mm-hmm. Our point of view, our experiences, and hopefully, eventually, with time, there'll be more parents that will reach back with us and let us know about their point of view and how they did it or how they would do it, right?
How they would do it, yeah. And I definitely, of course, want to know about people who have done it and how they've done it and did it work out? Because in the end, ultimately, you're learning as you go.
Right. So then on that
especially
note,
with the first one.
Today we will be talking about something that we are kind of dealing with, that we're trying to figure out ourselves. I talked to a couple of people about it. Mm-hmm. So we'll get to it in a little bit. But before we do that, I think you said you had a Would You Rather segment. So
I had,
from the kids.
The kids gave us a Would You Rather.
So our kids have a Would You Rather. I don't know what it is, so this is my first time hearing it.
Okay. So it was basically, would you rather wake up to no presents on Christmas Day or 10 presents that you can use for nothing?
You mean like
useless
socks
toys
and coffee mugs and
useless,
ties? And...
useless toys or useless things. They said, what would you rather, wake up to nothing or wake up to 10? I mean, I guess they're trying to think of what they're going to get. So they're like, and they maybe always feel like they get things that they don't want.
Okay, so 10 things
no
that you don't want?
Or 10 things that are useless to you.
I guess I need more background. So if
that's what they asked me.
If I'm waking up by myself, am I by myself, and there's nothing there for me? Like I'm completely alone.
No, that there's no other context.
Or do I have all my loved ones? Like I have all of you guys there, but I have no.
This
no
is
Christmas?
Coming from an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Oh, okay.
They're just asking.
Well, children,
would you rather
you
have no
parent,
presents or 10 presents that you are useless to you?
Yeah. When you become a parent. We get no presents. Our presents are to see the joyful, beautiful, happy faces and the excitement of the kids opening their gifts and watching them play with them for about 5 minutes and then move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And then by the next day, forget all about them and completely ignore clothes.
Yes, they always ignore this. Like even at birthday parties, you see the kids are opening presents. They get to toys, and the moment they open that first present with clothes in it, they're just like, and they just kind of like
Thank
toss
you.
it to the side. Always, always.
Oh
But that
man.
was their would you rather. So 10 useless things or nothing. What would you prefer?
10 useless things.
10, and why?
Because I get to pretend that I love them and that I enjoy them, because there was 10 gifts that somebody probably didn't have enough to give me, but they took the time and the effort to try to keep me in their thoughts and let me know that I mattered enough for them to give me 10 gifts.
10 gifts. Okay. That's
So then,
a positive way of looking at it.
so then I would, because like I was saying, we live to see the happiness and joyfulness out of the people that give us the gifts, right? If it makes them happy. And I think I've become kind of like an expert on it through the few years of my life. Whenever I did get gifts, that I was like, oh, thank you. Corduroy's shirt.
You
Oh,
you hate
thoughtful.
corduroy.
It's so nice with the little pajama patterns and this mustard color. Well, my wife knows how much I love mustard colored
Corduroys.
shirts and corduroys. 3 of my favorite things all at once. You should have known, really.
Now somebody knows what to get him as a white elephant gift.
Corduroy's pants that match the shirt. Oh my goodness, I look like a pimp. Just something like that, or some those 99 cents freaking toys, like those little plastic soldiers that don't move.
The ones on their little plastic stand.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, there are some cool ones from those stores. Like I seen, like my buddy Eddie gave me a Bo-Katan or one of those, and I was like ecstatic out of that. I was happy. I was like, oh.
I think our 11-year-old.
I guess it depends on the characters, right?
Well, our 11-year one day, he had some cash that he wanted to spend, and so he's like, "Mom, can you take me to an inexpensive store?" And so I took him to one, and he got this toy that was kind of like a D&D character or something. I guess I didn't know, or it could be similar to a D&D character, but he loved it. It was actually like you had to put it together. You had to buy like 2 different parts.
Oh,
and then you had to put it together.
That scorpion thing, right?
Yeah, like a scorpion wagon thing. And he loved it. I was like, that's pretty cool for as inexpensive as it actually was, So I was like,
yeah. But see, again, like, right, it's a whatever gift,
yeah.
but
No,
right?
he bought it for himself, but I would have never thought to buy that for him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So see, there you go. So, I mean, there might be 10 whatever gifts, but like you said, it's a thought that counts, right? Because there's a lot of times when you're like you probably get a gift from, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of what are 10 things that someone could give me that I would think are absolutely useless. I was like, say cotton balls. Like, nope, can't use cotton balls. I was like,
yeah, everything is useful
like,
because we'll find a use for it, right?
I've been trying to think of something that I wouldn't use. I know. A bottle of canola oil. 10 bottles of canola oil. I would never use that.
Yeah. I'll just sit there.
It'll just sit there. 10 bottles of soy oil.
I'll probably end up using them or something.
The canola oil?
Yeah. I was like, I need to oil this metal. Let me get rid of some rust here.
That's horrible.
But it will work, right?
I would use olive oil, though, so that's not out the question.
Yeah. Or avocado oil, right?
Avocado oil.
Soy oil, I'll definitely would not
never
use.
use soy oil. Definitely not use a canola either. So that there's 10 things that I could definitely get that are useless.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So you will go for the 10 gifts.
Yeah. Just to open stuff.
Yeah.
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 And then
You're probably
like
like,
you
if
said,
you got like 10 bottles or something, I was like, that's pretty glass. And just drain the oil. See, so you'll still use it.
I do like, if it came in a nice glass bottle, yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I do like glass bottles. I do have I used to have a collection of glass of liquor bottles, like just really pretty bottles of liquor that, and I hadn't necessarily drank them. It was just,
Remember that year, talking about gifts that we never used, remember that year that when our oldest was, I think it was first Christmas, somebody gave him a whimsy of a football team I really hated.
yes,
And the first thing I did was I went and I cleaned dog poop with it and threw it away.
that's horrible. I thought that was
And
with a
that
blanket.
was the blanket was next. I was going that way, and then somebody
I
got
think
that
you covered this
big old
blanket, yes,
of
a
same football team.
yes,
And I grabbed it and I just threw it in the backyard, and I
for
was
the
like,
dog.
"Have fun with it, dogs."
Hey, they love that blanket.
They
It was
did.
nice and soft.
It is those Mexican blankets, those not the ones that you use for your truck seats, but like the
nice
fluffy
fluffy
ones. You know,
plush ones.
if you're native and you're Mexican, you know the one that comes out during the winter that's all nice and soft but really warm. Usually they have like a tiger print or like a bald eagle on it or something. So something.
This one was a
Mythical
football
wolf.
team you didn't like, so you gave it to the dog. Hey, the dog loved it.
No, they
So
were happy
he
for a
was
while.
happy.
For that 2-3 days before it went into the trash. Till trash
So
day.
funny.
Because of all the mud.
Well, that was our Would You Rather from the kids. And
Thank you, Munchkins.
this last, 2 weekends, well, I guess not this weekend, but the weekend before, we have been trying to watch movies, right? We binged on a movie. We binged on a series that was inappropriate for the children.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we binged it during the day. So it was kind of hard to watch. But.
And in the process of a weekend. I mean, it took 2 days. It was more like evening times, but we got the kids, sidetracked with other stuff. Like, oh, here, go do this. Or, oh, watch the TV in our room. Or we can go play video games
or something. Yeah.
Things that we usually don't let them do. We're like, because we've been waiting to watch this show. So, yeah, we were kind of entertained with it. It was a pretty good story.
We were entertained enough to binge it in a weekend.
Right. But it was the work of one of our favorite authors, and we wanted to see how they adapted it to the modern times. And, I had an actress that I really like, so
yeah,
I was like, I gotta watch this.
Well, but in the end, it raised the question of
monitoring what we
watch.
Yeah, because we were looking over our shoulders, making sure that nobody was walking by, coming over. And there were moments when I was like, maybe we should kick them out of the room and try to watch it there, or do we go,
Yeah, because we were in the living room watching this. Normally, we would watch our grown-up shows, usually in our room when they're sleeping. Another thing we do until they sleep.
Yeah.
Or we don't do until they sleep. But this time, it was just like, oh, let's just watch it. The kids aren't really paying attention. They're off doing their own thing. So let's just sit and watch. So.
And it's just scenes, right? It wasn't like the whole show that is nonstop. So there's scenes.
Definitely racy scenes. And there's some people out there who probably would say, well, you shouldn't be watching those anyways. Because there's some people like that, right? There's just some people who don't watch any type of inappropriate thing, especially if they have children in the household.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that, like they were complaining about a special for a comedian. About a joke, right, that he did or whatever. And I started watching the special, and I was like, it's literally the first joke. So why did they continue watching everything if they were offended immediately on that first
Did they
joke?
watch the rest?
Yeah. Most people were saying, oh, overall, the rest of the show, blah, blah, blah. I was like, hold on. So you were offended straight out the get-go, but you stayed through the whole thing. So is it like an accident that you just can't look away from?
I don't know. I haven't been following this story.
Or they just want more ammo to complain about something, right?
Well, I don't know. I haven't followed this, but the whole fact that we're busy worried about, what our kids can and can't watch.
Right.
Because as parents, it's our job to protect our kids and keep them innocent as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yet we know that they're going to learn things from their friends and other, peers in general, even from siblings, who are older, who might expose their younger siblings to things that
And
they don't need to.
a lot of kids learn a lot of stuff from what they watch on TV. So.
And a lot, yes, that's definitely true. Watching things on TV or even listening to the radio.
Right.
So based on that, we were questioning the whole thing of censorship. And gosh, when did it get started? Like, how long? Do you remember? And this came up because I wanted to watch Predator with the kids a while back. Mm-hmm. And you're just looking at me like I'm crazy for wanting to let the kids watch Predator. I was like, yeah, no, I used to watch it with my dad all the time. And you're all like, okay. And then you put the Predator on. I'm like, well, I don't remember so much cursing. And it's because I watched the made-for-TV version, yeah. which had been edited or censored, and
in order to be broadcast.
Exactly,
right?
In order so it could be broadcast and for people watching it with their families, right? So even though there was like all this killing on it, we at least didn't listen to the bad words.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've always made fun of me for these things because there's so many movies that I'm like, oh yeah, I should watch this. I want to watch this with the kids and I want to watch that with the kids. And you're just like, no. Like,
yeah, so
it's not okay.
So yeah, you grew up, like you said, and with your parents, you watch stuff. You have your family movie nights and you watch stuff on TV.
Yeah.
So that's understandable, right? And that's how it was for us in the 90s or 80s, 90s. Overall, like that was you. But for me, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
For me, like we said, I was more free range. Everything was different, right? So I did see stuff on TV, and it was different, right? It was different jokes. It was different stuff. And like I said, I got to a point where I would just be like, Dad, I want to watch this movie. Can you rent me this movie? Mm-hmm. Because there was a lot of times when I was home alone by myself. So that was my babysitter. I was home alone, and the TV was my babysitter, right?
But you would get rented films.
Yes, but I would get rented films. So then I knew them uncensored.
Yeah, because the rental places had the uncensored version.
Yeah, right.
Not the made-for-TV version.
Right, exactly. And then I would see them on TV, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. This sucks. Or this is hilarious how they changed it, or they cut off this scene, or they cut off that scene.
So I had a question. Now, what about whenever you used to watch TV in Mexico? Like where you grew, like when you were a little boy? You told me you saw some movies when you were a little boy that were definitely corruptive. But I mean, I don't think those scenes would have necessarily been permitted in the States for those same movies.
Right.
Like, so, what version did you see?
So a lot of the movies in TJ, right, that networks in TJ, there was only so many channels. So you would get the San Diego TV networks, which everything will be kind of censored, and then you have like the one or two Mexican channels at that time, and they would show movies. And sometimes they were censored in certain ways, but they were dubbed. And so being dubbed was hilarious. So a lot of the action scenes, murder scenes would stay. Sometimes the sex scenes would stay too. Not that they showed a lot, but they would show. And if they did that, it would be like a late showing. It wouldn't be like an early showing, right? So then... But it was dubbed, so they would talk in Spanish,
yes,
and it would just be funny, like to hear some of the words that they used to fill in bad words, but they weren't bad words in Spanish. You know what I mean? They were like instead of calling somebody like an insult, it's like saying, "Oh, you dummy," or "You dumb," or "You're silly," instead of, you, instead of saying "you mother freaker," right? Like it would be like "oh, you mother lover," like it was just it was something was inserted. Oh, eres un cretino, or rayos.
Well, and that's what I was just wondering
if lightning,
it was,
it's like
if it was different. Like, what was the level of censorship on TV and in TJ or Mexico versus here in the States? And I know it's a border town, so it'd probably be a little more similar. It was
very similar. Yeah, it was actually, as I'm thinking about it, it was very similar, and it had schedules. It had certain schedules. So
yeah, there was definitely like soap operas where during when kids were supposed to be at school for their moms, right? And then you had the cartoon time early in the morning while kids were getting ready for school, and then cartoon time around the time kids are coming home from school.
Yeah, I remember it being like from, I want to say like 2 to 5:30, and that was
Yeah.
it.
And
Right
then
after that, it was all
news,
news
lots
and
of
parent
news.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, grown up
because
stuff.
kids are supposed to be doing their homework, getting ready for
Yes,
school.
exactly. And then all the adult movies would go on after the kids are
Yeah,
supposed
8,
to
9
be.
o'clock, all that stuff will come up. Yeah.
Yes. So I looked into kind of like a quick timeline of all this. So censorship started in 1934. And it was more to be a ban on music. They weren't broadcasting TVs yet in 1934. So, but it was a broadcast. They were broadcasting all this music, and so the FCC was created. You know, we don't really hear banned music anymore. Like, there's no censorship on music anymore. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, no, there are some stations that you listen to. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name, but there's it's like an eye and a body part. Anyways, I always, whenever I listen to their stations, I always hear their disc jockeys talking about how, oh, I know we're gonna get fined for saying this, you know, type of thing. So I was thinking, oh yeah, they are still part of that whole censored network, because anything that is broadcast on a network is supposed to be censored by the FCC. Even to this day, if there's something on a broadcast that you find offensive, it doesn't matter if it's like a big group of people that find it offensive. If you personally find something offensive, you can call the FCC and complain about it to this day. So I thought that that was interesting. But I also learned that it does not relate to cable, satellite TV, satellite radio, or anything that you pay for, like a subscription, anything you pay a subscription to.
So there's no censorship on stuff.
There's no censorship on anything that you pay a subscription to. But if it's like a free network that you're listening to on a broadcast of some sort, or even on the radio, like the regular radio networks,
right,
those are all banned. Those are all
censored.
No,
I know the radio ones, if it's over the air.
Yes,
as part of
the same with
channel,
the TV.
so then,
but that's the difference, because I think our conversation was like, here we are watching.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, because we're paying for it, so of course there shouldn't be a limit of what
there's exactly. So subject. If we're watching movies on Netflix, HBO, Max, whatever these paid TV stations are, or movie stations are,
streaming networks,
because we're paying for this service, there's no censorship on them. Versus if we were watching like NBC or CBS, you know, on the air, you know, the airwaves, that is going to be censored.
Okay. All right. So what about, I don't know if you looked this up, but what about like the other networks that are kind of apps? And
it's still something paid.
But no, the free ones, you know, like, okay, not sponsors, but like Pluto TV or Freevee. Like, I know that they have commercials, but I don't think they're censored.
I don't think they're censored either. I don't know. Oh, because it's not a paid subscription, you're saying?
Yeah.
I actually didn't research that part. So I don't know. But I do know they play movies.
But they have the ratings, right? They still do the ratings. They still everything.
Yeah. They still tell you what the ratings are. And basically the ratings were just used as a guide for parents
to know what, okay, so this, you know, it's rated G, so for general audience there should be nothing offensive in this. So,
you know,
so on that note, so us, just so you guys know, and I feel a little bit bad about it and a little bit hypocritical from my part, but I understand why my wife does it, especially with the stuff that we've been watching and we've been discovering. We had moments that even sometimes on the kids program, it kind of catches us off guard. But my wife has parental control over the kids' apps on their phones, right? And according to their age group. So, mm-hmm. you know, we do like the YouTube Kids, mm-hmm. or when our boys had their phones and everything's through, you know, our main provider or whatever, she goes into their profiles and I go in there too, and we put a rating for them. So there's certain things that when they try to open it or try to play it and it's under their profile, it already knows their age group, so it won't let them watch stuff. So even
they get so frustrated.
Yeah, they get frustrated because even I have sent them videos just to be funny, that they might like this one, but then they're like, I couldn't see it because of the age restriction. And I was like, but that one wasn't bad. I'm like, or was it? It makes me think about
But
it.
that's the thing is, so it is literally what is offensive to you. So based on the FCC's guidelines, I was reading that there is 3 things that they look for something to be offensive.
A red flag.
A red flag. Something that causes it. So this is a 3-part test established by the Supreme Court. And this is based on the average person. I don't know what their criteria for the average person is, but this is what it says. And also we're going to have some word of the days in here. This one says 3-part test established by the Supreme Court appeals to an average person's prurient, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, prurient interest. This means having or encouraging an excessive interest in sexual matters. So, or a shameful, morbid interest in nudity. And it says that it would also have to be patently offensive and as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So if it meets all that, then it is grossly offensive and will not be allowed to be shown. Okay, this was original. This was like way back in the 1964 was when all this was decided, even though they'd been censoring since 1934. And then it was funny, though, because when I found a timeline, there's been several times where the FCC has not followed their own rules or have let it slide a little bit. So like in 1953 was the first murder trial clips that were televised of a teen who murdered a cop.
Okay.
And the FCC didn't block that. In 1956, Elvis Presley was on the Ed Sullivan Show, and none of his hip gyrations were censored. But in 1957, they cropped him from the waist down.
For that same reason.
For the same reason.
That was a big thing.
So in 1956, they let it slide. I bet a bunch of people found it offensive.
Yeah.
So then the next time he did it,
Elvis the pelvis.
They did not allow anybody to see him from his waist down.
Thank you, Mama.
In 1977, ABC's Roots was the first TV show to show frontal nudity, and it was not censored. 1978, there was a case between the FCC and Pacifica, and the Supreme Court rules to restrict the broadcasting content deemed indecent due to George Carlin's radio routine. And it was because this, and I found this interesting.
Legend right there, George Carlin.
I found this read interesting. I'll read a little bit, not the whole thing, because it was very, very long. But basically, George Carlin's radio routine, if you know George Carlin, he holds no bars. You know, he lets it all out. And this Justice Supreme, he basically says that indecent material presented over the airwaves confronts the citizen, not only in public, but also in the privacy of the home, where the individual's rights to be left alone plainly outweighs the First Amendment rights of an intruder. One may hang up on an indecent phone call, but that option does not give the caller constitutional immunity or avoid harm that has already taken place. Although Cohen's written message might have been incomprehensible to a first grader, Pacifica's broadcast could have enlarged a child's vocabulary in an instant. There's a lot in there I cut out. But I thought that was interesting that they're basically saying that something that comes over a radio station is the same as an intruder and violates your rights to privacy.
I'm sorry. So what you just read, was that what George Carlin said?
No. This is what the justice. This is what the Supreme Court justice ruled. Why this court case exists.
What year was this?
1978.
78. Well, no wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder George Carlin always got so brutal against the government.
Yeah. So he was basically so this justice was saying that the reason the radio is basically censored is because it violates your rights when somebody is on a radio talking, and they say something that could be offensive to you. It's like an intruder coming into your house.
Can you imagine George Carlin still alive today, making those jokes that he did back then, or those stand-ups that he would have done today? It would be crazy.
Other than he'd be canceled.
Yeah, like
I mean,
find
it's
it crazy.
no different, really.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like we were talking about that earlier too, like the other day about like Tropic Thunder, right? Like I can't believe that movie is still out of it, like played or watched.
Yeah, well, we find it hilarious.
Yeah, but as many people, I get so easily offended now. You know,
but see,
I mean, even Joe Rogan was making fun of that.
Yeah.
We were listening to that. Like, yeah, I can't believe I'm still around. You know.
Well, what the other thing I found interesting in what this justice was saying is that, like, I understand the idea behind these restrictions, these censorships, is because. And he says it on the very last one, and the very last part of his speech is where he's talking about, a child's vocabulary could be changed in an instant, right? Where even if they didn't see anything, because this is over the radio, a child who just happens to listen in on a conversation, right? And they hear a bunch of adults, conversing, cursing at each other or whatever. This child has now learned that vocabulary, right? That's why some families within their households would say, okay, you're not allowed to say that. Right, that's a daddy word, or that's a mommy word, right? Or, But back then, what are you laughing about?
It's just like that example to me is like, well, that's how I learned how to talk, though. Like that's how you learn to talk as a child too. You hear people speak and you repeat it. So in this aspect, they're just concentrating on the negative. And it's a narrative that's happened throughout. This is why we are the way that we are, because everybody just concentrates on the negatives.
Well, see, but here's the thing: is like, I guess I'm a hypocrite then, because I'm, as much as I want free speech, this whole idea of free speech, and you should be allowed to say whatever you want. We shouldn't have to censor ourselves for the feelings of somebody else. I also don't want my kids listening to people curse.
Well, yeah, but and at the same time, like, we could be censored because people might be offended by what we're saying.
But so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm a hypocrite because I'm saying I don't want to be censored by what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yet I don't want people. I don't want my kids listening to curse words. I don't want my kids watching nudie scenes. I want my kids censored.
Okay, but then again, you do realize that you're married to me, and
but I'm not talking about you.
Daddy words are used a lot.
I understand that, but I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the idea of censorship, right? Where,
Okay, but that's over free airwaves, right? That was over
radio.
TV or
that
radio,
was over radio waves.
Yeah.
Right, and then so we're talking also about the fact that here we are trying to have us time watching movies or TV shows that are inappropriate for younger viewers, and we can't enjoy them. But how do we know our kids aren't watching this stuff with their friends?
That's beyond our control, though.
Yeah, it's beyond our control. So what's the point of us censoring them?
But doesn't the school censor them? Because the school's like, you're not supposed to be on your phone watching this stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Okay, maybe on break they might see this. But then again, I mean, I also got corrupted a lot. Yeah. I also got corrupted at school, there was other kids. Everybody has different backgrounds.
But that's
Everybody
what
has
I'm
a different
saying.
language.
That's why I said earlier, your peers. If you're not being corrupted at home by your parents, you're going to be corrupted by your peers for sure.
Yeah, this is always going to happen. So, like, there was a while there when they were blaming music stores. They were trying to censor music stores, and they went and made them put the parental advisory on the damn records, on CDs and tapes, and now you need a parent's permission to buy stuff, right? It's one of those, right?
That's all part of the music censorship, yeah.
Right, and then later on with the TV, like so then if you feel like that, then maybe we should start canceling all our streaming options, or the kids shouldn't have access to anything and just lock up the TV or lock up the whatever device that provides all this stuff for them. Because there's a reason why we do like the time, like screen time or the profile setups for them.
Yeah.
that on it, right? And in
But
order to
is
get
it
into
wrong
ours,
of us to be censoring them? Is it wrong of us to be limiting them on their access to these things? I guess that's my question. It's like, here we are protecting them.
no, it's not wrong because there's things that little kids, like you said, shouldn't see, right?
Yeah, I agree.
There are certain things that they couldn't see. So, like what we were watching that started this whole debate for us, definitely, we don't want them to see that,
Yeah.
right? They're not there yet. It's like my son was like, "Dad, can I watch this stand-up comedy with you?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, I'm down. Like, I love comedy. I love stand-up. It's one of my favorite things. We started watching it. It was funny for a few, and then there was stuff where it was over his head.
Yeah.
The subject was like, ugh, okay, this is iffy for me right now with the boys.
Yeah.
And they were kind of looking at me like, I'm lost. I don't get it. So then we just started kind of talking, blocking what was going on the screen. And I was like, you guys mind if I stop this? Like, we're not really watching it. We're not laughing. It's kind of weak. They're like, yeah, Fluffy's funnier, or another comedian's funnier. You know, it's like, yeah, you guys are not at that age. You guys don't understand it. But yet the jokes that he's saying are about their age group. Well, he was going at their age group, but they're not there yet.
Yeah.
So it's another one of those things where you're talking about being sheltered.
Well,
that's a reminder for me that my kids are still sheltered.
well,
right?
and that's another part of all this, right? So it's a parent's responsibility then to shelter their kids based on their emotional maturity.
Yeah.
What their child is able to handle. For example, within our household, I would say our eldest, our 15-year-old is much more innocent than our 11-year-old.
Oh, definitely.
And that's just in their personalities. Even though the 11-year-old comes off as a super sweet, innocent kid, he is not.
He is. Don't say he's not.
He's not.
Yes, he
no,
is.
you've said that he's said some things that I'm like, no.
He is. He's a sweetheart.
I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying that it's in his personality. He thinks a little more grown-up things than his
he's so good at
15-year-old brother did at his same age. You know what I mean? So, or even at this age now, right? Because there's things that our 15-year-old you say to him and you're like, he'll be like, what? And then the 11-year-old's over there chuckling because he got it.
Right.
And you think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I do.
But again, that's their personalities and that's their emotional maturity, right? Our 11-year-old can handle a certain level of scary movies, whereas our 15-year-old hates scary movies.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's, you go by, I mean, I know adults that way. I know adults who hate scary movies. I did a poll, to ask, when did people see their first rated R movie? Did they see it, 17 plus, like the rating says, or between 13 to 17, or under 13?
So what was
or never?
So I don't recall this. Or
the winner was between 13 and 17. So the majority of people who responded that their first rated R movie was between the age of 13 and 17. So I have to agree with that because, well, no, Alien was rated R, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was the made-for-TV version. I saw it when I was 9. So I guess maybe I fall under the 13.
Yeah, Aliens rated R.
Yeah, Aliens was rated R.
1979.
But it was the made-for-TV version. All I remember is that I was eating green Jell-O. And I did not eat green Jell-O for a long time after watching that movie. But again, that's made for TV, right? And now there is no made for TV version anymore, right? That you can sit with your family and have a family night.
They're still there. They're still there. See, there's some networks that still do that.
I mean, didn't Deadpool remake one so that the family could enjoy it?
So the kids could watch it.
Yeah, so the kids could watch it.
And what a different movie it was, right?
Yeah, it was very different.
It's just two different movies. I mean, there's things that kind of go hand in hand, but they're different movies.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It was entertaining. I still
But
enjoy
the
it.
average movie that's not happy, it's rated R, it's rated R,
Right.
TV shows rated R, the kids stick to, Goosebumps, right? And even things like that were censored, how scary is something, how many bad words. The original censorship was honestly on cursing. Did you know the word pregnancy was banned?
Mm-mm.
And it was on the I Love Lucy show when she was pregnant. They were not allowed to say that she was pregnant. They were not allowed to use the word pregnancy or pregnant because it implied that they had had sex,
Aha.
even though they were a married couple.
Yeah, but the problem there back then was that she was white and he was so Hispanic. Think about the
Maybe,
time in that
yeah,
era.
that's true too. That's not what was on this, but if you want to dig into that's fine. But
Yeah, but then at the same time, if you think about it on those shows back then,
I mean, the couples slept in different
yeah, they
beds,
still showed
and
that sipping bed stuff or different bedrooms, like
yes,
during those comedy shows. So it was a different time back then,
but
right? We're
that's
talking about
when,
50s.
but that's what we're saying. The evolution
Yeah, look at the
of the
evolution. Yeah,
FCC, right? So
Predator's also rated R,
yeah,
1987. By the way.
but the evolution of the censorship, right? So I mean, they couldn't even say the word pregnant, right? Because it insinuated that they had sex to make a baby, that they had made a baby.
Yeah, and you don't want to raise those questions for the
And even
kids
though
at
they were a
home, right?
married couple, like, isn't that crazy? They were a married couple in real life, portraying a married couple on TV, and it was still an issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, in 1995, they created a TV council specifically to block the lesbian and gay content on any broadcasted radio or TV station. That was in 1995.
1995.
Yeah, in 1997, Schindler's List was the first unedited broadcast, despite its nudity, profanity, and violence.
Because they wanted to teach what it was like during that time. Was that it?
It never said anything other than just think about who runs the networks. The first TV in oh my side.
It makes sense. I mean, it's a joke, but it makes sense. But it's because it's a movie about what happened to that certain group of people, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess if they allowed Roots unedited.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I
Back
remember
in-
Roots was a big deal when I was a kid. I watched pieces of it.
Yeah, and Roots
I don't remember anything
came out
about.
in 1977.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
it must have been like a big old rebroadcasting when I was a kid. Then I think I was like
Probably.
about 6 or 7
No,
when I watched.
it was one of those like regular things that was on TV.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I remember it was like late at night. I want to say maybe like 8 o'clock, and it was like a week phenomenon or whatever because it was such a long movie.
That was something else I had read, was that the biggest recent fine from the FCC was a $550,000 against CBS. Do you remember for what?
What year? Oh,
In 2004.
no, I have no idea. 2004? No.
It was for the Janet Jackson,
Oh, the Super Bowl show.
the Super Bowl, the wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
So in 2004, they fined CBS $550,000 for the mishap. And in 2011, the U.S. Third Circuit Court of Appeals reversed it
Huh.
because they said that the FCC, in quotes, arbitrarily and capriciously departed from its prior policy expecting fleeting broadcast material. So that the FCC had themselves in their policies admitted that they couldn't censor everything.
Right.
And this was one of those unexpected things, and that they should not have fined CBS what they fined them. So it was eventually repealed. But because of that fine, NBC stopped airing Private Ryan for Veterans Day because a bunch of networks were super afraid of what the FCC was going to do or not do. When George W. Bush became president, he permitted a whole new FCC structure to be created. And this whole new FCC structure was way more rigid,
Right.
and they censored way more things.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah, that movie alone is kind of hard because of all
the Saving Private Ryan one.
yeah, all the shots, like a lot of the shots, like it's just an intro along. Like you're seeing people, getting shot, getting killed, missing limbs.
Yeah. Well,
So,
because broadcasters were
I mean,
that
even when people went to watch that movie, like the PTSD on some of those old veterans, like it kicked in big time.
Yeah.
Like, there was people that had breakdowns.
Well, in what I read, it didn't reference any of that. It was just referencing the fact that so many other stations just stopped wanting to show certain things or certain movies because they were afraid of the FCC hitting them with random fines for the smallest thing. So Saving Private Ryan was one of the movies that they stopped airing every year for Veterans Day because of it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see, like, I don't know. You left me thinking with this whole, say if you pay for it, it's not it's on you, and what they watch and what they do, and all this censorship, and TVs, they remember when they got rid of the whole air antenna thing, and you had to go with like this whole digital antenna thing, but then you go do it and it never works. Or
Yeah,
at least
I
for us, it
remember
never
that.
worked.
I remember
I don't
that.
even know if that's still a thing, so I'm kind of curious about that.
The digital antenna.
But like now you have to pay for apps, like for
You kind of
streaming
have to
networks.
pay for
You have to.
everything.
So I know everything went to cable. So when you were on cable, you still had all those channels, like local channels, and then there was some you pay extra for the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then
But
for
because
us,
you paid, there was
yeah,
no
for us,
censorship.
we were streaming before it was a thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not doing cable no more. It's cheaper for me to just do this streaming thing here and there, and
Gosh,
it's just the only thing.
Is that option still even available?
What's that, cable?
No, that one we used to stream.
Yeah, that's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's like one of the first platforms, right?
Yeah, and I because I just looked into it too. So it was I just started streaming, and then I was like, all right, I'll just do the individual networks or whatever. Now I get frustrated because now everything is streaming. Now everything is streaming.
We pay $5 for this one, and $7 for that one, and $12 for this one.
And you kind of add it all up, and pretty soon, if we get everything that we wanted to watch, right, it's like being back in cable.
Yeah.
So
Or
it's kind of like,
satellite.
yeah. So it's like, all right, but it's kind of like to the point where, okay, well then everything is. If am I asking for it then for whatever my kids watch now because of what I'm paying for the service, so nothing's gonna be censored.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's a couple of networks that still have like the kid stuff, or they still have the air antenna stuff, right? Because I mean, obviously, I get to watch sports on them when they're supposed to be over there. So I just don't know. I'm kind of confused. Like, how do we control it? I know I asked people like, how do you control what your kids watch? And they're like, well, I monitor the screen time. But when it comes to me not being around, they didn't even know about like us when we set up the profiles and you could put the limit, like our little one on all the apps or whatever that they go into for streaming, and when we go into their profile, obviously it's asking for a code for them to sign out of it. So that's how they're locked in and they can't lock out to go look at our profiles.
Okay.
So they're like, oh, well, I don't know the code. Like, we're stuck. Remember, there's been times when you text me, you're like, hey, what's the code for this one app? Because I can't get out. I want to go into my profile, right? Mm-hmm. So I started explaining that to the people at work, and one of my friends, and they're like, oh, I didn't know they can do that. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look into that for my girls. And, they got kids that are kind of like our middle ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's just, there's many things, but I kind of want to know, like, how do parents do it? How do they monitor what their kids watch? How do they go about it? What rating is the limit, right? Because think about, you're talking about movies that you watch as a kid, but they were TV movies, and I watched them, and I'm realizing that they're pretty much all rated R.
Almost all the movies nowadays seem like they're rated R.
Yeah. I mean, Terminator, The Matrix, Troy, Saving Private Ryan, The Untouchables, Deadpool, stuff like that that I enjoyed as a kid. Or growing up, that old movies like that. Enter the Dragon. Those are all rated. The Bodyguard, obviously, that's a rated R movie. Uh, I was just kind of like, I'm kind of like, okay,
Well,
maybe.
like I did another poll asking our followers when do they watch their adult movies? Like, do they wait for their kids to go to bed? Or are they single? Then they don't have any kids to worry about. They can watch whatever they want. Or never, just because you never have time because your kids are always around and you just never get that moment. And we got 60% of people who said that they just wait for their kids to go to bed or just
To
any
watch
time their
whatever they
kids
want.
aren't around. Yeah, which is what we do as well. Usually, it's just this last time we were just, all right, let's see if we can get through this without them seeing things that they're not supposed to. So, I mean, I guess we're doing what the majority of people are doing.
I'm just trying to remember, like, do you remember what the Batman was? The Michael Keaton? What was the rating on that one? Was that PG-13?
Oh, I don't remember.
That's what I want to know. I want to know what was that Batman.
No,
Oh, yeah, it was PG-13. I was right.
you were right.
Yeah,
Okay.
PG-13. Because I was like, well, I watched that a lot as a kid.
Now, is it hypocritical of us to be monitoring our kids about this stuff when we were watching things we weren't supposed to be watching at their age?
Well, I guess different times, right? It's always going to be my answer. Different times, different ways that things were back then.
Because, like I said, I read, this isn't even something that I watched, but I read Interview with a Vampire when I was 12. Had my parents known what I was reading, they probably would not have ever let me read it, but they didn't. They were just happy that I was reading.
I was going to go there. I was like, they were just happy. Oh, she's reading.
But I love to read, so I was always reading. So to them, it was just, oh, she's just reading another book. But, I mean, there's no way we would let our kids watch the remake. And
No.
even the
Oh,
original, even the original movie is like, yeah. I mean,
Isn't
it's
it
a
more
lot of
boring now, though?
it's a
Like,
lot of insinuation. It's not.
yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah. In the original Interview in the Vampire movie, it insinuates a lot, but you only get it if you're old enough to get it, right? So, but again, is it hypocritical? Like, should I let the kids watch Interview with the Vampire? Should I let our almost 12-year-old watch Interview with the Vampire? I'm not telling him to read the book, but if he asked, hey, Mom, can I watch Interview with the Vampire? Would it be hypocritical of me to say no?
Well, will you give him a warning? Will you let him know, like, okay, just so you know? Well, I mean, we have that going on with our 15-year-old right now. There's a lot of times that he's asking, can I watch this? Can I watch that?
He's asking to watch the randomest things.
Yeah.
Like
so,
Fight Club.
Yeah, he wanted to watch Fight Club. He wants to watch Psycho. Oh, I mean, American
What's with
Psycho.
the American Psycho thing? I don't understand that.
I think it was a girl thing. I think some girl brought it up, and then so he's been kind of like, I want to watch it,
That's just a random thing for a girl. I'm be afraid of that girl. She's talking about American Psycho.
I hope she's not talking about American Psycho too.
I haven't seen that.
So yeah, I mean, and there's times where I'm like, you usually send them my way, It's like,
Yeah, if I have a question about, he'll come to me and he'll be like, "Hey, Mom, can I watch this? Can I watch that?" I'm like, let me ask your dad because I might remember it differently than he does.
For me, is I always go into it's like, okay, if you want to watch that, you have to watch like this movies first. Like I want to see how ready you are, and for me, I prefer if they're gonna watch like rated R movies. I'm always gonna go with like, okay, have you watched Braveheart? Or you need to watch Gladiator before you watch this. Like,
But we made them watch Braveheart.
yeah, but we didn't make them. We put it on and they enjoyed it. But the oldest one didn't really watch it. Yeah, he missed the beginning. But like the other day, I was like, oh, let's watch Gladiator, and they're like, oh, I was like, well, if you don't have the time and patience and don't want to commit to this, then that tells me that you can't do the other ones. I know our oldest watched The Crow, and that's another movie that I was kind of like, I don't think they're ready for that because there's some hardcore scenes and there's some scenes in there that was kind of like,
The only
and
one
there's
who's
drug
really
use
watched
and there's
it
action.
is our 15-year-old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Him. And
Yeah.
but so if they watch that, I'm pretty sure you can watch some of the other stuff.
I mean, our kids watch Sweeney Todd, so
But that's Sweeney Todd looks fake. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look.
why? Because it's not like the recent time for them, and it's a musical,
Yeah,
so
so it's
that
like a music.
dismisses the
Yeah,
murdering
yeah. It
and
just
the
looks
eating of
different.
humans.
Yeah, it looks different. It's just something about like our boy said, it's like something about those Tim Burton movies. Something in the background or
You
the
just
aesthetics that it just looks like.
you just know it's not real.
Yeah, yeah. It can be
So
just one of those things, right?
so it's just a fantasy. It's just something you can justify the make believe part of it.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm just saying because like there's some things we do let our kids watch because we enjoy it and we don't find it utterly horrible. Whereas I know other parents would be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you let your kids." I mean,
Well,
isn't that the
Beetlejuice.
whole? Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's an
Beetlejuice
excellent
alone.
example.
Oh my god, I already said it twice.
I mean, that's another excellent example. We love that movie, and I'm sure there's parents who would say it's
Our son,
inappropriate.
number two, is asking his friends, "Oh, yeah, have you seen this movie? Oh, I love this movie. It's a great movie."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I asked my parents about it. They said that they can't believe that they let you watch that."
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
Well,
it's only
it was
like
our,
what, 2 bad scenes
our
in that?
eldest was quoting Hannibal, not Hannibal. He's quoting Silence of the Lambs in geometry.
Right? And yeah, he was telling me that story.
and his I guess he missed part of the line where he says I ate a man's liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Yeah.
And I guess he missed the Chianti part.
yeah.
And his geometry his friends were like, "What is wrong with you? Like, what are you even talking about?" And his geometry teacher says, "Oh, you missed the part about the Chianti." And he's like, "Oh, yeah. And then he says the whole thing with the Chianti part at the end. And they're all like, "What?" And the teacher was just chuckling because she got it. But part of me is like, so was it a good thing that our son knew Hannibal Lecter's lines?
And see, that's another movie that most people would be like, "You let your kid watch, you know,
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs?"
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. Again, is it hypocritical for us
but
to
that
be
one was
like,
with our supervision. That was one of the movies that he recently asked, "Can I watch it?" Like,
yes,
sure, we'll watch
but we
it.
watched it with him.
But at the same time, we're kind of like, why? What is he saying this?
Yeah.
Why is he doing that? Like, you need to be quiet.
Yeah.
You need to pay
And we
attention.
covered that,
Yeah,
I
we
think,
covered
in
this.
that last one.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Right.
He's always talking to me about Star Wars. Sorry, I know they're not the same thing.
Off with your head.
Off with my head. Star Wars.
How
My bad.
dare you.
Star Wars, Star Trek, Star Wars. I know they're not the same thing. I take it back to the Trekkies. I'm sorry. I apologize to the Trekkies. I did not mean that.
Apologize to the Trekkies. Apologize to us. How dare you? You're dead to me.
So I guess.
So this is the last episode of Until They Sleep. It has been a pleasure. We're getting a divorce. We'll be soon be in another podcast.
Why? Because
we'll
I
be
said
the subject
Trekkies?
because one of us is gonna die and gonna go missing. Okay, so bottom line is what do we do? Are we hypocrites for censoring our kids
think
and what they
so.
watch?
Maybe just a little.
How do we control what they watch? Should we control what they watch? Should we just let them be free and watch whatever they want?
I mean, it's kind of 50-50 these days.
I mean, you're kind of like an uptight person, and you were kind of grew up with the censor stuff, and I'm kind of more like a free, crazy, no holds barred, kind of always offensive person. So I didn't have that censorship.
But he's not like that.
Do we have to? So I think we're trying to find the middle ground so that they're not too much like you and not too much like me. They're just in between. And
Just,
so,
polite, but know how to curse someone out when necessary. Is that what we're going for?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Good human beings. That's the bottom line. I mean, good human beings that are humble and kind and look out for a fellow.
Well, I guess with us, it's we really do try to sit and watch these things with.
I realize that pretty much censorship goes out the door because we pay for the services. Like, I didn't realize that it's up to us to monitor. They're leaving it up to us to monitor our children. So no, we're not wrong for monitoring our children and what they watch.
Yeah.
Because it's up to us, right? So we're paying for a service. They're providing what's in it, but they're leaving it up to us to
they're making it for adults. They're not making
Oh no,
it for
yeah,
children.
yeah,
That's why
but
it
they
has the
still make
ratings
stuff for
on it.
children, right? They still
Yeah,
make
yeah,
stuff for children. That's why you can create profiles, and they ask you for an age group for that profile, like what they can watch, what they can't. You were talking about music earlier, and if you go into your music providers, that whatever you might have to, to listen, there's an option in there that if you want profanity music or not, or at the same time, if you're like in a family group and you're creating one for a profile for a family member, they're asking you for the age, so they know what they can play for them, what they have access to.
yeah.
So even the providers will censor to your discretion.
Yeah. So, do we keep censoring? Do you?
I don't even know why you're asking this, because we said we were a dictatorship.
It's true.
I mean, I just thought about it right now.
In our household, we're a dictatorship. We preach Republican democracy, but we're a dictatorship in our household.
Well, everybody had. I mean, they all say that they're part of the republic or whatever, but they all, in some way, shape, or form, end up being a dictatorship because they put limits to things, right?
Are you sure? I mean, well, I guess that's true, because even if you're on the opposite spectrum of like free love and everyone, they put limits on.
Yeah, there's always a.
There's always a but. Mm-hmm. There's always a but. Just depends on your belief structure.
Yeah.
And how you want your kids to believe. Right? Yeah. We're just raising mini
just
S's.
like the Jedi, yeah, I was coming back to that.
Many S's.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I've been like dumbfounded. I'm just my little hamster's trying to process like.
Is this just too much of a subject to discuss this late at night?
No. It can go in so many different ways. It can go in so many different ways about what to censor, what not to censor. What kind of values are you trying to give your children, right? What do you let them watch?
I mean, yeah,
that's what it comes down to, right?
I mean that goes just down. If you're going to talk about values, there's definitely families out there. I knew somebody I used to work with. She never watched TV until she was an adult.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't have a TV in her house growing up. Her life was sports and her education. Some parents do that. Some homeschool parents, that's the same thing. They choose the content. There's a lot of content out there now. Like, if you're a Christian household and you only want your children exposed to Christian ideals, there's Christian apps for them to watch TV on. If I'm sure they have them for other faiths. I haven't researched it, but I'm sure it exists.
But see what I mean? It's censorship, right?
Yeah.
They all have their own way. So yeah, it comes down to what kind of values you want to have, or what kind of upbringing you have.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like what I always like to say, for every action there's a reaction. So those actions of trying to over censor and over protect people, what happens to them once they're out of the nest? Well, the element of what their prison, right? You can look at it as like their home is their prison, but the moment they go out of it, they go on a field trip, they go out with other people, they go to the schools. You're talking about homeschooling, that's a whole different scenario. But like our children go to the school, they're around with other people that are locked up in other prisons, and they're coming together to play, and they talk about the point of view.
Prisons. I mean, it's their environment.
Their environment. That one environment, another environment, and they're being put in this greater environment where they're all come together. Call it the United Nations. And then,
school is a United Nations.
And then everybody's there is like, well, you know what? In my country, we run things like this, and in my country, my dictators tell me this. In my country, we're all one. We all put everything to a vote, including what we're gonna eat for the day, or and it's like, what? That's crazy. Like, it's our job as parents to make sure that we raise good people and try to keep our kids partially innocent, not expose them to things they're not ready for, right? Like I was saying earlier, it's by age, right? So how mature your children are and what they will be able to handle or not. So then why not help them out through the way? You'll know your kids if you have a relationship with them, if you get to know them, if you get to talk to them on a one-on-one basis, and you spend time with them, then you know how mature they are. You know what they'll be able to handle, what they can see, what they can talk about. So obviously, the show that we were watching, our kids were not ready for it. There's too many things. If you're ready to have that shock factor and have to have a meeting afterwards and a big conversation about what they just saw, or try to explain things that are happening that they might not have never been exposed
A lot
to,
of explanation.
then, get ready to have awkward conversations. And it's not just the bird and the bees anymore. Like, it's a crazy world. There's a lot of things that are different than when we were growing up, than what we've lived through. It's different now. So there's more things that you might have to cover that you're not ready for. So I guess you have to pre-screen everything that they watch so
Which
that
we
you know
do
what they're
try
doing.
to do.
Or watch it like I said, watch it like a family, and then you go from there. But, you get an idea. I think I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like I like to go online and on whatever movie like if we're gonna go to the movies and watch a movie, I like to read about it, and they tell you in there on the descriptions via whatever search engine you're using, through Google or let's say IMDb, they tell you about certain scenes, what the subject is. There's a rating for violence and action or adult content. So just know what you're getting yourself into if you have any questions, right? So I guess being a parent, it's a lot of homework. You still got to do homework, even nowadays, to know what you're watching, if you really want to control everything in your kid's life. But if you're saying, hey, F it, figure it out and watch whatever you want, and then you have no censorship and you just want to let them be free and learn about it and deal with it on their own way, then by all means, that's your decision, your way of raising. I'm not here to question it. I'm just talking about ours. Guess it's crazy. There's a lot of weird stuff on TV nowadays. But I guess it's our fault for paying for it. So from what I learned today, that's what I'm taking away. Like, think about what I'm paying for network-wise now. So, I mean, it's just those values, right? That's the problem with that network right now with the mouse ears. There's content that's put out there that a lot of parents don't agree with, so they're canceling it.
Yeah,
Because
or
they
it was
don't want the
supposed
kids
to be safe.
exposed to it. Yeah.
The safety of it anymore. Again, what offends you?
Right. Yeah. What offends you? And like my wife said earlier, there might be some network out there that might just be what you want, that has your values or your cores, or that it's to your agenda that might work. So then you do those and you let them watch that. Mm-hmm. So, or you don't have a TV in your house, period, and just deal with that.
Some days I think about that.
No, that would never work while I'm here. So
I know, but some days I think about it.
I think about it.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. We hope that this was a little informative as far as, if you didn't know anything about, the history of our censorship.
Yeah, about Lucy. I love Lucy.
Yeah. Have a good night.
All right, guys. Take care. See y'all next week, hopefully. No, cancel that. Talk to you guys next week.
We're tired. Good night.
Have a good one. Peace.